physical, mental, and social well-being. And it's very interesting because decades ago, health was just a state of physical well-being. And then they decided, well, health is a state of physical and mental well-being. And then quite recently, they decided that it's important how we engage within community. Our social well-being is also a big part of how we're feeling and how our health manifests. So it's not just the absence of disease, which is what the original kind of World Health Organization view was. And what I want to do is show you just how beautifully defined this was Ayurvedically thousands of years ago. But first of all, let's just take a look at one of my favorite quotes, and this becomes really important when we're looking at Ayurvedic medicine. Hippocrates basically said, it's much more important to understand the human being, the person that actually has the disease, than to look at the disease itself or to look at the disease the person has. So how that equates to me as a clinician Ayurvedically is somebody can wave their diabetes diagnostic work at me, but I'm not going to look at the diabetes. I'm going to look at the human being first and how that diabetes may be presenting in their body, because 5 or 10 or 100 people can come to me all telling me they have diabetes, but each one will be presenting differently and have different symptoms. So really important in Ayurvedic medicine, we look at the person and not the pathology. So the origins of Ayurveda, and this can get long and intense, but right now I just want you to know that Ayurveda originated out of the Vedic sciences and the Vedic texts. And maybe many of you have heard of the Vedas, but there were 4 very long volumes. And there were subsequent medical texts that arose out of the initial Vedic texts. And these are literally some of the oldest medical texts on the planet. And when we're studying Ayurveda at Mount Madonna, we always reference these texts. We don't go back to the internet or newer books. We go to newer books if we know that the author is valid. But there's so much misinformation that for us, and the way we're taught, we go back. And even though originally they were written in Sanskrit, the ancient Vedic language, they have been translated. And so if you get a good translation, all the information is there. And it's absolutely profound that even thousands of years ago, that medical knowledge is applicable today. And it's also important to know that empirical science will date some of these texts back about 3,500 years. But we know Ayurveda, along with the other Vedic texts, it was an oral tradition prior to that. The writing this information down didn't come till much, much later. So the bottom line is we don't really know how old Ayurvedic medicine is. It's steeped deep in antiquity. And during the Bronze Age, there was this civilization that was flourishing along the Indus river valleys of northern India. And there were a few great universities, the only universities on the planet, actually. And people were coming from the Middle East. They were coming from over the backside of the Himalayas from China, and they were coming into the foothills of India to study all the great subjects. So astronomy and mathematics and the sciences and music and arts and what have you. And Ayurvedic medicine was one of these subjects that was taught. And the folks that came to study at these universities at that time then went back to their own countries over the Himalayas, back into China, into the Middle East. And then from the Middle East, the Greeks picked up medicine. And that's essentially how Ayurveda disseminated itself or flourished as what we can pretty significantly say is the mother of all medicine. It's the oldest, and it was only because of variability in topography and maybe geography that changed some of the treatments and some of the practices over time and culture. But when you look at every single medical modality on the planet, even today, their foundations are almost identical. And we'll get into a little bit about that later. But I'm not going to get into the Vedic text, and I'm not going to get into the classical medical text, but just so that you know, these are the origins of Ayurveda. And if you begin studying it, you're going to want to default or refer to these texts. Okay, so the definition of Ayurveda that is in Sanskrit. It's not in the Devanagari script, but I wrote it out first for you just from a phonetic perspective. And don't worry about studying Sanskrit right now, but I bet you by the end of our 2 hours, you're going to learn a little bit of Sanskrit. So let's take a look at what they say is the definition of health. Samadosha, sama agnicha, samadhatu malakriya, prasan atma indriya manaha swasta iti abhidiyate. So I'm going to loosely translate that. Sama just means balanced, balanced. And so dosha are your tissue, your biological, hi, welcome. We're going to, got one more joining us a little bit late, just jump right in. So essentially, the doshas, it's an important Ayurvedic concept for you to understand, and I'm going to break this down in more detail in a minute. But your doshas are the energies or the bioenergetics that are going to inform your physiology. So your physiology is essentially, how does your body function? Well, there's something informing that. There's something kind of pushing on that energetically. And that's all the doshas are. I like to just explain it as the bioenergetics that inform your body's physiology. They're kind of telling your body what to do. So you need to have balanced energy in your body. And sama agni, so balanced digestive fire. Agni just means fire. This is your enzymes, your chemistry. You got to have balanced digestive fire. And sama dhatu, your dhatus are your tissues, all the tissues in your body. You want to have those balanced. And you also want to have the proper elimination. Malas just mean waste. So we're going to eliminate waste through sweating, through excretion, and through urination. We want to make sure that is all functioning and nothing is blocked. And then prasan atma indriya manaha. This is the differentiation between the World Health Organization's definition. And that is what Ayurveda says, in addition to what I just mentioned, it's equally important that your spiritual body, your soul, your connection to whatever you believe in is balanced, and that how you perceive through your senses, sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell, that is also balanced, because essentially what you perceive, what's coming in through your senses is what's triggering you or rebalancing you emotionally and putting your mind, the activity of the mind, into play. So we want to have balanced spiritual life, balanced sensory input, and then a balanced mind, in addition to the bioenergetics being functional, your digestive enzymes being functional, and all your tissues and wastes functioning. Much more complex than the World Health Organization, right? So how do we get there? And how do we tune into what this actually means? So let me just give you the English definition now so you can see how this translates. Health is one who is established within oneself, who has balanced doshas, balanced agni, properly formed dhatus, proper elimination of waste, well-functioning bodily processes, and whose mind, soul, and senses are happy. This is called a healthy person in Ayurveda. Kind of a tall order, but let's keep rolling along. And I do want to welcome another participant here. Okay, this slide I know is a little bit small, and we're not going to get into the details of it now because this is for further study if you're ever interested. But just know that Ayurveda has 8 branches of medicine, and it's really important that you understand that it's not an airy-fairy gypsy esoteric way of healing. It's a very, very complex medical science, and we have areas in internal medicine. We have areas in surgery, pediatrics, psychiatry. We also have areas very specific to ear, nose, and throat, which is kind of everything above shoulders, neck. We also have a branch of Ayurvedic medicine that includes toxicology. And then the other two branches that are a little different in a Western model is what we have Rasayana, which is the science of rejuvenation, which is essentially what a lot of people say, oh boy, Ayurveda, you guys, are you the fountain of youth? Do you have the secret key to longevity? Because Ayurveda, Ayu literally means life and Veda means knowledge. So again, loosely translated, the knowledge of life or the science of life or the science of longevity. It's not a magic pill. All we do is through 6,000 years or more of observing the human body and recording that, we are knowledgeable in understanding how to slow the aging process down. That's all we do. We slow the aging process down. So the science of rejuvenation, or Rasayana, is one of those branches of Ayurvedic medicine that we don't have in the West. And then the last or eighth branch is kind of virility. So couples dealing with fertility or wanting to conceive or having conception issues would go to this particular specific branch. So 8 medical branches to Ayurvedic medicine. And if you go to big Ayurvedic hospitals in India, doctors are separated out just like here, if you want to go to the eye doctor or the heart doctor, et cetera, cardiologist. Any questions so far before I just keep rolling on like a steamroller here? Are we good? Okay. So what makes Ayurveda unique? It is incredibly unique. So I've pointed out a few key things here. It is totally based on the laws of nature. And in the last few hundred years, we've really blown it. The industrial age sort of said, oh, we humans, we're separate than nature. We can control nature. We're different than nature. It is not true. When we start upsetting the rules of nature, we get ourselves into hot water with our health. So not only is Ayurvedic medicine based on the laws of nature and the observation of nature, but what they say is we as human beings are a microcosm of the macro. And that goes from a cell, one nucleus in a cell, one atom within a cell, all the way out to Jupiter. And the way I like to kind of envision this is you're inside a complex Swiss watch. Imagine you're just a tiny dot inside a giant clock. There's all these circular patterns, some big ones and little ones and tiny ones, and they're all going at the same time. So the more awareness you can bring to those cyclical universal rhythms and how to balance your health within those rhythms, the better off you're going to be. So it's essentially this relationship between us as human beings and that intrinsic connection we have with the entire universe. And I know that's far-fetched when Western medicine is looking on a cellular level, but astronomical and astrological science is looking out at Jupiter. We know that we worship the sun because we wouldn't be alive without solar radiation. We understand how much the moon affects us on a physiological level. You can't acknowledge those two heavenly bodies and not acknowledge Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, et cetera, et cetera. So much of the knowledge got burned and wasted, and so few people are really, really good at that type of information. But there is a smaller branch of Ayurvedic medicine that is related to planetary alignments. And we can see in somebody's natal or birth chart if there is a potential impending problem. And it doesn't mean you have to manifest that problem. The beautiful thing about looking at your natal chart is you can potentially circumnavigate it. You can say, boy, in 5 years, I got a thyroid issue in my medical chart here. But if you start working on it now, it doesn't necessarily have to manifest. So we are connected from cells all the way out to Jupiter and everything in between. Really important in our day-to-day life is understanding the cellular diurnal, which just means daytime, and nocturnal. Our entire chemistry changes from day to night, and we need to understand how that shifts and how chemistry in plants and vegetables and things that we eat also shifts based on diurnal and nocturnal patterns. We developed as human beings at the same time as angiosperms. This is flowering plants. We had dinosaurs, we had green plants. It wasn't till much later that angiosperms developed and human beings developed. And so our chemistry and plant chemistry is very, very intimately connected. Their reproductive system is the same as ours. And that's why we respond so well to plant medicine, not just complex healing herbs, but foods that we eat on a day-to-day level, and why we're affected by them. Again, the uniqueness, we're going to treat the human being, we're going to treat the person, not the disease. So if 5 people come to me and tell me I'm sick with a liver problem, I'm going to look at them all very differently. And then we have a very specific and unique approach to purification and rejuvenation that no other medical modality has, in that this day and age is quite toxic. Environmental toxins sit in the body, and your intelligence, your human intelligence, your body's intelligence is going to do what it can to get rid of those environmental toxins. But unfortunately, we're just being inundated right now. And so getting into the body and kind of turning yourself inside out. It's kind of like taking your car into the shop and pulling all the pipes off and cleaning them, soaping them, oiling them, and then putting them all back, and your car is just shiny and running smoothly. That's essentially what we do. That practice is called Pancha Karma, the 5 actions. And I'm not going to get into that today, but if somebody just wants a tune-up and to get rid of any toxins that are sitting in deep tissue in the body, or if you're chronically ill, you're going beyond disease management, and you may be at the point of death and dying. If you're strong enough, this can be a potential option to try to revitalize and get things going again. And lastly, our job in Ayurveda is to protect health and to prolong life. So yeah, Caitlin.
Yeah, I have a question, Kate. And maybe you'll talk more about this later, but just, hearing all this, I'm wondering if now or later, if you would be able to speak a little bit about if there are specific kinds of diseases or issues that Ayurveda is particularly skillful at addressing as compared to, a Western medical approach. And if you often see folks who I've tried everything, because a lot of times I think folks come to Ayurveda, if they're like, I've tried everything, it's not working, I need something else. If there's maybe a couple of things like that in particular Ayurveda just looks at in a different way, or just treats in a different way that tends to be more effective.
Yeah, great question. And I can definitely touch on that. And then that's just a huge part of studying Ayurvedic medicine for years, because what Ayurveda says, this is a clear distinction. We all know the expression, you are what you eat. Well, Ayurveda takes it a step farther, and they go literally, you are what you digest. The only things coming in are air, water, and food. So if you're not breathing right, and you're not drinking right, and you're not eating right, there's going to be problems. So this is why Ayurveda is so strong in looking at your digestive ability or your imbalances, because again, through thousands and thousands of years of observation, we know how that's going to go south, and what the patterns or the subsequent damages or imbalances from that digestive potentiality, your Agni, your enzymes getting off. And then each one of the diseases has a pattern. And we're not going to get into that in this 2 hours, but I'll show you the beginnings of that and how I would like you to start thinking. So we're going to jump into now some key fundamental principles that are really important. And just in this next 2 hours, if you can get 2 or 3 of these next theories down, you've got Ayurveda down. Okay, so we're going to start right here. The elements and the bioenergetics. So we don't know how our universe was formed. The bottom line is the Big Bang Theory is still questionable. People are questioning it. There's new science questions. But what you have to understand is that there was space. In the beginning, there was just this empty container that kind of houses whatever it is that's going on in this universe, empty space. And we call that ether. We can call it space. We can call it dark matter. Science now says 95% of the universe is dark matter, just this empty nothingness. In Sanskrit, it's going to be referenced as the Akash. Sometimes you've heard kind of in the mystery schools about the Akashic records. We are in a fishbowl. Nothing just disappears. It transforms solid, liquid, gas, right? It doesn't just poof, vanish. If it goes poof, it turned into a gas. But this container is holding it, the Akash or space. And that is at the very top of what I'm calling the elemental spectrum. And then all of a sudden something happened, and we really don't know what, but there was movement. Could be the Big Bang, could be something else, we don't know. But I'm just going to refer to movement as air. All air is movement. And whenever you have movement, science dictates there's going to be friction. You can't move something and not generate heat. So the fire element was born in our universe. And in our solar system, all these atmospheric gases, we had swirling, whirling gases. Our planet was not even a dense earthly planet yet. It was atmospheric gases, which is the air, things moving. And then we had heat. And now we're in 6th grade science. If you remember kind of condensation, precipitation, when heat rises and you've got atmospheric gases, the water molecule was born. This condensation began. So in our solar system, on our Earth, we were a very, very soft, fiery, watery planet for a long, long time. So now the water molecule has been born, and we're getting denser and denser and denser now. So I'm going to just repeat. We've gone from this container, this space, this ether. There was movement or air. We've now got a fire molecule because friction, air movement creates friction, condensation, precipitation, the water element is born. And then finally, the end of that kind of density scale, everything is heavy and it's cooling off, and the earth or the mineral kingdom is born. These are all the rocks that were formed. You take your vitamins and minerals, mineral is just powdered earth, different types of earth, all powdered up. And this is what we call in Sanskrit the Pancha Mahabhutas. This is a theory of Pancha means 5, Maha just means great, and Bhutas means elements. So just remember 5 elements. If you take the modern periodic table, the modern scientific periodic table, every one of those elements can be nicely fit into either ethereal, air, fire, water, or earth. This is what they understood, or what we understood thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago before electron microscopes and looking at atomic structures. So if you can identify air, ether, fire, water, and earth in anything, your food, your family members, the environment, and you understand that like increases like. If I'm hot and fiery and I eat hot and chili peppers and it's August and it's high noon when the sun is at its zenith, I am adding like. I'm going to get what? Colder? I'm going to get hotter. So like increases like, and opposites balance. This is a fundamental principle in Ayurvedic understanding. If you keep piling on the same elements, they could bring you potentially back into balance. They can also aggravate you. So everything is medicine and everything is poison, but like increases like and opposites balance. And depending on where you're at, this is how Ayurvedic medicine is going to work for you. Now then, we've gotten our first theory out of the way, the 5 great elements. Memorize those if you want to understand Ayurvedic medicine. And from these 5 great elements, what ends up happening is we get into the 3 doshas. This is the next important theory to understand in Ayurvedic medicine, that the doshas, again, are simply the biological energies or energetics that inform your body's movements, your body's physiology. And Vata is the first one we're going to study. And Vata is comprised primarily of air and ether. So there is a light quality to Vata. There's a dry quality, cold. If you put enough dry, light, cold attributes into any situation, you're going to generate more roughness. And there's a mobile quality because air is quite mobile. And what Ayurvedic texts say is there's a clarity or a clearness to Vata. So Vata is at that light ethereal end or top of the spectrum. And some of us are born with more air and ether in our bodies than others. It's another important distinction that Ayurveda recognizes very clearly. And this is why some of you are going to be quite confused in the beginning as you're analyzing your doshic makeup. And here's the distinction from just taking a random test in a magazine or online. What a good Ayurvedic physician or practitioner understands is that you have your genetic predisposition. You were born this way. You received your genetics from your parents. This is unchangeable. It's set in stone, guys. We call that your prakriti. It's your true nature. The key is your prakriti or your true nature is unchanging. And your disposition between vata, pitta, and kapha you got from your parents, and that's it. Now then, your vikruti, this is where medicine comes into play. Your vikruti is your changeable state. And it can be changeable from moment to moment, day to day, month to month, year to year, diurnal, nocturnal patterns from childhood, midlife to old age. Your vikruti is in constant flux. And this is that inside of the Swiss watch I was talking about, that everything's moving around you and your body is moving with it. And understanding who you really are, what is your true nature? And then where are you now and how can you get back to your true nature? That's Ayurveda's job. So understanding first how these doshas navigate themselves around your body. Vata is air and ether predominantly. Pitta, all of a sudden we have the heat comes in, and pitta can either be watery or it can be dry. It's not a moisture continuum, it's a temperature continuum. It means there's heat present. And our bodies, it's a hydrolipid continuum. You get dehydrated, we know to drink water, but what we forget, hydrolipid, it's water and fat. And your body can get drier with heat, but if you're a watery, oily type and you've got heat in there, it's a different type of problems that arise Ayurvedically from that. But just know pitta equals heat. Kapha, now we're at the lower end of that main 5 basic element spectrum. Now we're just earth and water. So the qualities, heavy, dense, cool. It can be slimy, soft, you know, if it gets muddy. It's very stable, okay? Just so you know, if we want to simplify this, vata and kapha are cool to cold on a temperature continuum. Pitta equals heat. Vata, in a very general way, can be equated to the heavy or light continuum, but it's on the lighter. If we're looking at the weight continuum, we're on a lighter end of the spectrum. Pitta, again, temperature continuum, and kapha is going to be moisture continuum. So our bodies, you fundamentally, if you just want to say, boy, am I hot or am I cold? Am I heavy or am I light? Am I dry or am I moist? If you can just think that simplistically, you can now go, okay, I need to get drier. I'm too moist. I need to dry myself out. What kind of foods are going to dry you out? What kind of herbs are going to dry you out? What kind of environment is going to dry you out? Right? If you're heavy and you want to get lighter, how do I lighten the load? How do I lose weight? What kind of tastes are detoxifying and lightening versus tastes that are heavier and build tissues? So this is how Ayurveda is going to start working. But right now, important for you to understand, Vata dosha arises out of the air and ether elements. Pitta dosha arrives out of the fire and the water element. And Kapha dosha comes out of earth and water. Any questions before I keep moving? We're all okay? All right. So let's take a look at this a little closer. Kapha. This is, remember, earth and water, heavier. In our bodies, the Kapha dosha is responsible, or is the energy behind all the lubrication and all the fluids in our body. It's responsible for structure, building, growth, bones, skin, putting weight on, fat, because its qualities are cold and heavy and wet and dull and static and dense. A lot of stability. Kapha is predominant in the atmosphere when it is wet and cool. So that could be in California, that's usually in later winter or early spring. It hasn't warmed up too much, but the key is that it's wet and cool. So when Kapha is balanced in a person, the Kaphas are the ones, if you're predominantly Kapha, the Kaphas are the ones you want to marry. If you're looking for a long-term marriage, pick a Kapha because they're stable, they're heavy, they're nurturing, they're compassionate, they're not going anywhere. The problem is problems getting them off the couch. They can tend, when it's too much Kapha, they can tend toward lethargy, depression, stagnation, lots of fluid buildup in the body. So excess mucus, excess, we call kapha, the seat of kapha is technically in the stomach. So this can be loosely equated to the kind of alkaline or mucosal structures that keep the acidity, the heat, from burning a hole in your stomach. So you have all this mucus in your body. People that are excess kapha tend to have excess mucus in their body. Pitta now is a little different. Pitta is essentially the energy or the bioenergetics of transformation. So I'm going to loosely stereotype this as chemistry, your body's chemistry. If I eat an apple and that turns into a skin cell in 40 days, it's pitta, it's the heat, it's the complex chemical processes that happen in the body, in the liver, that can transform one thing into another. It's the magician, right? And it is related to heat. People that are high in pitta, in their doshic balance, usually are super bright. The shiny stars, the straight A's, the CEOs, the politicians, they know how to get stuff done. They work at 120%. They're working harder than anyone else, and they're getting A+ in class, and they're really the movers and shakers of the world because they like organization, they like success, they're competitive. But just like a shiny star, a bright, hot, shiny star, Pittas tend, health-wise, to burn out. So they have to learn how to delegate. They have to learn how to let go. It's not I'm waving the white flag. A Pitta will never, ever do that. But learning to delegate and let go and accept the fact that, boy, I know I can get an A+ and do this at 120%, but you know what? I'm going to delegate it. The person might not do it as well. It's a B+ or A- work. It kills a Pitta, but it's better for their long-term health to let go and have other people do stuff, delegate properly, than to burn out. And Pittas usually always have issues ending in itis. Gastritis, colitis, tinnitus, all of the itis just means inflammation. So they tend more, if a kapha tends more to the fluid stagnation, mucosal ailments, a pitta will tend generally toward more of the inflammatory problems. And Lastly, our little vata down here, this is the bioenergetics of movement. Remember, vata is space and air. These are your airheads, your space cadets. These are your spiritual people. They're so tuned in, they're fragile, they're creative. They can pick up ideas super fast because they're just moving quickly and thinking quickly. Out of balance, though, they are more spacey and airheady. They're kind of everywhere and nowhere. The pitta knows where their keys are. If I ask a solid pitta, hey man, where are your keys? They're going to go left-hand drawer in the kitchen, in the red box labeled keys. That's pitta's compartmentalized. The vata won't know where the heck their keys are. They're always losing their keys. So it's got that very ethereal quality that can put you in a place of great spiritual astuteness and creativity and an ability to have a lot of intuition, but it can make you airy and fairy if it's out of balance. And the problems with too much air and ether in your body are generally related to the central nervous system and central nervous system disorders. And unfortunately, vata imbalances, according to Ayurveda and the medical texts, have the most health problems. So if you can think about air and ether, you want to ground vata and you want to make sure their central nervous system is kind of oiled and warm and calm. Otherwise, they can get insomnia, they can get anxiety, the stress and not be productive at all. So again, just a quick recap here, the qualities, and these are important to try to memorize or write down when you're beginning your Ayurvedic journey. Vata, the air and ether qualities, are cold, light, dry, mobile, and rough. So a super duper simple way to look at this is, let's just translate vata to a season. If we said kapha was kind of that wet cold, when is vata season in California? It's going to be fall, when things start getting light, cold, drier, crispy, dry leaves. So if you're vata imbalanced person, or you were born with a lot of vata in your true nature, and it's now October in California, November, and the environment is getting colder, it's pumpkin season, our body's intelligence starts going, warm, oily pumpkin soup sounds good instead of a dry cracker and a salad, right? We have natural intelligence, we kind of know. But let's just say you do something silly and you don't even realize it was silly, and you decide on this nice cold fall evening with your vata imbalance to eat a snack while you're watching a movie, and you choose a scary movie, which isn't good for a vata because they're so sensitive, and your boyfriend or girlfriend or family member goes, not only are you vata imbalanced and it's fall and there's a vata imbalance in the atmosphere, we're watching a scary movie, like increases like, so your vata is now going through the roof. Let's have popcorn. Obvious movie treat, some popcorn. Is that a good call for your health or for your balancing of vata? Nope. Popcorn's a really bad call for a vata in the fall if you're imbalanced. So just this is how we're going to start thinking Ayurvedically, because popcorn has the same qualities. It's light, it's dry, it's mobile, it's rough. It can be cold if you're eating cold. It's nicer, it's better if you're eating it hot, but you can do things to the pop. If you don't have a choice, you can do things to the popcorn Ayurvedically to help it. So pour ghee all over it. Put some black pepper on it to help heat it even more. Popcorn's not the ideal choice, but sometimes you make these Ayurvedic adaptations in order to error correct. So now what we want to look at is pitta. This is fire and water. So the qualities of fire and water are oily, sharp, hot. Heat, whether it's dry or liquid, has a very spreading quality. If anyone's ever had like poison oak or a rash, that's just pitta going off. And what you want to avoid if you're pitta imbalanced is anything that's oily, sharp, hot, light, and spreading. So we want to balance with cooler, drier, heavier, more stable things. So we're going to like midsummer, it's August. You're at Joshua Tree. It's like high heat. It's 12 noon. You're on a little hike and you got your water bottle, but your pitta's going off. Your face is red. You're huffing and puffing. It's just too much sun, too much heat. And you find a little restaurant when you've done with your hike and you think, oh man, like a margarita, corn chips and salsa sounds really good right now. But let's just break that down. You've got all this heat. Margarita, alcohol, heating. Margarita, lime, citrus, heating. Salt, heating. Corn chips, it's a heating grain, very different than barley and wheat as a grain. Your doctor says eat grains or eat vegetables or eat fruits, but in Ayurveda, we're going to break every one of those foods down into more vata, pitta, or kapha foods. So there's a big difference between eating dry corn than a heavier grain like a wheat or a barley. So all of a sudden that salsa, tomatoes, inflammatory, heating, jalapenos, heating, that entire margarita salsa corn chip snack you thought was going to be yummy has just put inflammation all over the table for your pitta aggravation. And then lastly, kapha, if it's wet and cold outside and you decide to eat, what would be the worst treat you could give yourself? Your kapha, it's cold and wet outside, you're watching a movie, you've picked a sad, wet, soppy movie where tears everywhere, more kapha, and you decide to eat a bucket of Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Haagen-Dazs ice cream, cold, moist, heavy, dull, static. Bad call. That kapha, watching that sad, soppy movie with tears streaming, all the moisture coming out, needs to have the peppery chili pepper on the popcorn snack. And the vata, who's dry, cold, light, and rough, maybe not cold ice cream, but the vata could have like a warm ginger coconut pudding. That would be way better choices for a vata imbalance or a kapha. And that pitta in Joshua Tree in the middle of summer, they want to go for cooling, juicy, wet, cold watermelon, cooling, juicy cucumbers. You want to be thinking along opposites balance. Is this starting to make sense? All right. Should we keep going? Okay, so the importance of Agni. Agni just means fire. And your digestive enzymes are your Agni. And this is where in Ayurvedic medicine, we look so closely at your digestion and what you're eating and when you're eating and how you're eating. So all of us, depending on if you're vata, pitta, or kapha, tend toward certain types of a metabolic body type. Generally, vata, air and ether, because it's so erratic with so much movement and motion in your life, you will tend to what we call vishama or irregular metabolism, erratic metabolism. And that's usually because you're everywhere and nowhere. You don't have a routine. You might skip breakfast this day. You might skip lunch the next. And then you overeat and then you feel bad and you do a fast. Then you self-medicate with a whole bunch of, this is how Vata's mind, lots of mobility. And so the bowel patterns, fecal waste, digestion, all mimic that erratic. So one day you're constipated, the next day you've got diarrhea, the next day you have a really normal bowel movement. So think about your own Agni. What type of Agni do you have? And this is going to help us determine how to remediate some of this. Pittas, if you're pure pitta or you have a pitta imbalance or strong ratio of pitta, you're going to have what's called a hypermetabolic type or tikshna. Tikshna just means sharp, and it's more hot. You're going to be hungry frequently. Good solid pittas need to eat every 2 or 3 hours. The word we throw around is hangry. You're kind of hungry, angry, right? Hangry. These are your pittas, and they can eat rocks and digest it. 2 or 3 hours, man. It's just they are moving metabolically very quickly, and they tend to not really lose weight or gain weight. They're just very stable because the metabolism is really strong, hungry all the time. Because there's an excess of heat there, if it's imbalanced, you will find that pittas tend to have more frequent, looser bowel movements, because the body, the human body, can only eliminate heat through sweating or through purging the bowels. And so pittas will have looser, more frequent bowel movements, whereas the vata types will have more irregular, erratic bowel movements with a lot of variability and changeability. The kapha, slow, dull, heavy, more earth and water elements, remember, they have what we call hypo, or slow metabolism. It's called in Ayurveda or Sanskrit manda. Manda just means slow, slow and dull. So they're never getting too hot. It's just that low, slow, smoldering fire. It doesn't get hot enough. And so when they eat heavier foods like wheat as a grain, or ice cream, dairy, cheese, these heavier, harder to digest, more kapha foods, they run into trouble. The pittas, because they've got so much heat, if they eat hot, spicy, sour, salty food, they run into trouble. And the vatas, because everything is light and dry and airy, if they eat light, dry, and airy foods, they're going to aggravate and run into trouble, digestive trouble, and then bowel, fecal elimination trouble. So ideally, what we want to do Ayurvedically is recognize, well, what's my doshic makeup? Am I more vata, more pitta, more kapha? How is that determined? And then what's my metabolic digestive type? How am I digesting foods? And do I have a routine? Am I eating the right foods for my my body type? Does this all make sense? And right now you're not going to know, and that's going to be part of this questionnaire that we're going to send out to you after we finish today. And you're going to answer a whole bunch of questions and start adding up points, and you're going to start seeing where you might land. And it's important, that other theory that I mentioned, that you understand when you take this questionnaire, take it based on what's currently going on right now in your life. For example, let's say historically, you're a great sleeper. Kaphas are generally really good sleepers because everything's heavy, dull, right? Dense. They hit the pillow, lights out, 8 hours. They don't have any problem sleeping. But all of a sudden, COVID, you don't have a job, you're stressed out financially, and your mind's racing a million miles. Vata's increasing right now in your body. You're normally a kapha person, your genetics, you were more kapha based on your parents, but now Vata's come in because of the anxiety and the stress and the current day or time that you're living in. And so you want to be able to ascertain how vata is now pushing energetically in or onto your body and changing your patterns or your physiology or your imbalances. And so now all of a sudden you have insomnia. You've never had insomnia in your life, and now you've got insomnia and you've got anxiety, and you're like, I never had that. What the hell's going on? It's the vata. It's the vata coming in and wreaking. Vata's like the little naughty kid in the classroom. Remember, vata's mobility, movement of the mind, stress. Vata's that kid in the classroom that gets up and starts poking and provoking the other kids in the classroom. Come on, Pitta, let's get going. Let's create some more inflammation. Come on, Kapha, let's get going. Let's create some more stagnation. So if you're confused, and you will be at the beginning of this Ayurvedic journey, treat Vata. Just treat Vata, because like I said, if you can get that one naughty kid to sit in the chair, the other ones are like, oh, okay, fine, it's no fun anymore. We'll just all behave and do what we're supposed to do, right? Vata is what can push on Pitta and Kapha and create an imbalance that you normally never would have had. So when you take the tests, look at the current imbalance state, because that's ultimately what you want to fix, right? So here's another important concept. The relationship between Agni, your digestive enzymes, and how you're metabolizing food, and what we call Ama. Ama literally means undigested or uncooked food. And the difference from an attribute or a descriptive quality, Agni, your digestive enzymes, are technically hot, temperature wise. They're sharp, which is penetrating. They're light and they're subtle. This is the chemistry that digests your food. Ama is the absolute opposite. It's more like kapha. It's cold, it's dull, it's heavy, it's sticky. And what is essentially are toxins, undigested or uncooked food, things that the enzymes have not been able to get a hold of and do what they need to do and turn that apple into this metabolic chemical transformation so that you can assimilate it and build the nutrition or the cells that create your tissues and you. So we don't want ama. Ama is not a good thing. And the way I like to equate that is, this is the way a teacher explained it to me once many years ago. And I love this because it really helped me understand it fully. Let's just imagine your stomach is a pot and there's water in the pot and there's fire underneath the pot. So you've got your digestive enzymes that are cooking the food and water in your stomach, and so that the nutrients can then work and be absorbed into your body. So you eat a food. This is why also in Ayurveda we say do not snack. You need to understand the difference between emotional eating and how hungry are you really hungry, and that can be anywhere from 3 to 6 hours. Pittas will be hungry every 2 to 3 hours, real hunger. Kaphas can go 6 hours, not eat a meal, and they're totally fine. And Vatas, variability, they're all over the place. But you need to understand emotional eating versus real hunger. And then what you need to say is, I am not snacking, because this is what it's like. You got your pot on the stove, you put your water in, you throw your rice in there, you turn up the heat. The digestive enzymes are now cooking your food. It's all in your tummy, getting mushed around, turning into what we call chime. And then the doorbell rings and your neighbor's like, oh, hey, can I come over to dinner? And you're like, shoot, I don't have enough rice to feed the neighbors, but I don't want to say no. So that food is partially digested. You just ate an hour ago. It's all doing its beautiful thing. It's getting cooked. The rice is cooking. You're like, oh, shoot, I'm going to eat even a healthy snack. I'm going to throw a carrot in there, an apple or a granola bar. So you've just put that apple, granola bar, or carrot into your tummy that is partially cooked. It's on its way down 21 feet of GI tract to do what it needs to do. It's like throwing in dry rice into partially cooked. That rice in the pot is already halfway cooked, and you've just thrown a handful of dry rice. It's not going to be cooked properly. The body doesn't go, oh, wait, reverse. Let's stop that process and start again, that complex enzymatic process. It's going to go, oh, hey, man, we're on a roll here. The train has left the station. You got to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. So that uncooked or undigested food is now working its way through your body, and your body's working really hard. Your liver's working hard, your digestive enzymes are working hard, everything's working hard to get it to a point where your body can utilize it from a nutritional perspective. But sometimes it's like, it's too much. Guess what? I'm gonna park right here for now. So now you've got micronutrients that are doing what they need to do, and in combination, these undigested, uncooked, tiny food particles that your body's worked really hard. And it's like, I'm gonna sit right here in the joints. I'm gonna sit right here is arterial plaque. I'm gonna go, boy, let me move up to the brain. I'll go up into plaque in the brain. Ama is this white, cold, dull, heavy, sticky, uncooked nutrients that create toxicity in the body, and they completely stop cellular communication. And that's where we want to clean them out, make sure that doesn't happen. A good thing you can do in the morning is kind of look at your tongue in the mirror and see if there's a white, dull, heavy, sticky coating on the back of the tongue. Back of the tongue is the colon. From tip of tongue to your rectum, it's one long 21 feet or more of a GI tract. What's going on in your tongue can be reflective of what's going on along that entire tract. So if you've got a white coating or a white to yellow coating, if it's turning a bit yellow, it means bile is involved and the liver's working really hard. Usually pittas have more bile, gallbladder, liver issues because of the heat. The liver is a very hot organ. But important to understand the difference between Agni and Ama and why we want to make sure Agni is potentiated fully and we don't have any Ama, or if we do have it because we made a mistake and decided to eat a delicious thing one day and our Agni wasn't strong, you want to make sure you get rid of it, get it out of the system. How do you know if you have Ama? Well, we can look at the tongue, but here are some of the signs and symptoms. So if you just feel heavy or lethargic in general, and that's not normally how you feel, that's a good indication there's toxins in the body. If your appetite all of a sudden starts shifting around, you're getting irregular, reduced appetite, I don't want to eat. If you've got any kind of joint aches, stiff joint body aches, migrating pain, that's an indication Ama is circulating through the system. You can see people that have chronic long-term Ama issues. Again, their skin is dull. There's a lusterlessness to them. There's that, they're lacking that brightness or that fire that's kind of burning through what they need to burn through. You can definitely have digestive issues like a bloated stomach, gas, flatulence, indigestion, burping, anything like that. Some people say they may have a metallic taste in their mouth. White coating on the tongue we talked about. You can have bad breath, bad smelling sweat. You can be constipated. Mentally, you might feel foggy, lack of clarity, no energy, even falling into being depressed or unenthusiastic. And then any blocked feeling in the body. Oh, look at all those E's. Feeling. You guys just noticed that. That's great. And so any blocked feeling you might feel in the body or the mind, you can't make a decision. Sometimes that can be Ama. And we can have physical Ama, this undigested white sticky substance. But when that gets into the head, that starts affecting our mental acuity and our ability to think and make decisions and feel confident. Right now, we're in a very strange situation with COVID. A lot of us are just making poor choices. We're stuck in between four walls. We're not socializing. We're eating the wrong foods because, you know, it's just a bit of a mess. And it's fixable. Ama can be cleared quickly if it doesn't go too long or too deep.
I have a question, Kate.
Yeah.
About that. Yeah, I guess I have two questions. One is around the, looking at your tongue in the morning. Can you speak a little bit more? Because some coating on your tongue in the morning is normal, right? After sleeping. Can you talk a little bit more about distinguishing between, and like throughout the day, if you're kind of like checking your tongue throughout the day, it's not going to look the same throughout the day. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit more, like that some coding is normal, or and how to sort of, when do you know you're in trouble, or how to just better assess that?
Yeah, you want to look at all of these signs and symptoms of Ama in addition to the coating on the tongue. So some of us are just going to scrape the tongue in the morning and get a little bit of that residual. You're going to notice, like if you have ice cream late at night or a big glass of milk, you're going to wake up in the morning, there might be more white coating on your tongue and it's not deep-seated Ama. And then you can look at other tongues and it's like, holy moly. That's some serious long-term chronic Ama. And we see that clinically as practitioners. It's shocking what people's tongues look like. And it's important to look at your own. It's important to look at your fecal matter. It's important to look at your tongue because these are indications of health or imbalance. So just because you have a little light coating of Ama a couple days a week, worse if you eat the kapha types of food like pizza, cheese, ice cream, milk, dairy, that'll create more. But if it's really heavy and it's not going away and you've got some of these other symptoms, it's getting into deeper tissue and you want to get it cleared out. But one of the best ways for clearing kind of superficial Ama, especially after a heavy party meal the night before, big Christmas feast, when you just make all the wrong decisions about what you're supposed to be eating, just drink hot water the next day. Just eat really light and drink hot water, because what heat does and water does is going to open up all the channels and start kind of melting that cold, dull, white, sticky mess. It'll start flushing it out and you should be fine.
Yeah, great. I love that. I love that there's so many quick and easy things that we can do. We already have access to, as long as we're noticing the signs and symptoms that our body, the information that our body is giving us. And then my next question is, can you talk a little bit more around, how fast it, how quickly you can develop, right? Like if we eat like this Christmas meal that you're talking about, it, or yeah, like if we have a week long or one day or chronic, just kind of the different levels and how, where it goes on those different levels, like what are the sort of
Yeah,
stages? Yeah.
great. And I've got a whole slide on that.
Oh, great.
We're about 3 slides away, so we'll get to that. But important to know that if it's just that one bad meal you ate, it's very superficial. But if it's long-term and chronic and you keep making poor choices pertinent to your dosha and your metabolic or Agni type, it's going to get deeper and deeper and deeper into the system. And this is the beginning of disease. So slow, sluggish metabolism, poor food choices, poor food combining, not having a hot enough digestive fire, and then this ama circulating through the system that then starts to block communication from cell to cell is essentially the beginning of disease. It starts out as an imbalance. We look at it on our tongue, and then it gets worse and worse from there if it's not rectified. So let's talk a little bit about the 6 tastes, because these become important as a remedial action. If the sweet taste, for example, taste can be felt differently on the tongue. I want you just to do, let's just do a little 10-second meditation with me, okay? Close your eyes. And I want you to use your imagination, and I want you to take a lemon out of your fruit bowl and put it on the cutting board. And I want you to slice that lemon into quarters. And I want you to take one of the quarters of the lemon and I want you to sink your teeth into it. Open your eyes. What's happening? Anyone salivating under the tongue? Your body didn't even have the lemon, guys. Okay, this is the power of the mind. You just thinking about a lemon changed your body's chemistry and physiology, and certain enzymes started to get triggered. It was anticipating a lemon. It was getting ready. This is what life is all about. This is why meditation, mindfulness, and presence become so important, because not only are we supposed to digest our food, we need to digest our thoughts, our feelings, everything that's coming in through the senses, because this is what's triggering our emotions. It can be, it's why we make some of the either good or bad choices in our diet and lifestyle every day. So just know that the tongue has various taste buds that when the food hits the tongue, certain enzymes or chemistry is triggered. And each one of these tastes in Ayurveda becomes really important, because like increases like, remember, and opposites balance. So if you're a kapha and you're heavy and you keep eating sweet things, you're going to keep building tissue and you're going to gain weight, and you might have strong muscles and you might have great endurance, but all of a sudden there may, as it gets imbalanced, become diabetes problems, obesity problems, lethargy, depression, like keeping increasing like. So we'll run through each one of these tastes, because it becomes really important to know how to balance each one. And again, look at the second column. This is the memorization, and go back to those 5 great elements. So sweet is earth and water predominant. Kapha is earth and water predominant. Would a kapha want to eat earth and water predominant foods like fats, proteins, all the complex carbohydrates, dairies, nuts, and meats? No, they already have those great qualities. They already have got great muscle mass. They're usually a little bit overweight. They've got tons of endurance. So they, on their ratio, on their plate, want to be really low on the sweet end of food. Sweet in Ayurveda is not candy. It's the fats, proteins, and carbs, which is essentially all your body kind of needs from a macronutrient level. But the sweet taste, what fats, proteins, and carbs do is they nourish, they build, they strengthen, they soothe, they calm. But if you have too much or excess sweet, you're going to have obesity issues and diabetic issues. And kaphas need to just lay off or eat very minimally these foods. And now it is very confusing for us because so many of these sciences, low fat, no fat, high carb, no carb, on and on it goes. The bottom line, guys, is they're all valid. It's all based off valid science. But what Ayurveda says is, wait, you're forgetting like nature. So let's throw nature into the mix. And particularly if you're from a 4-season climate, in the winter, if you ate leafy greens and smoothies and broccoli sprouts, you wouldn't make it if you were in a snowy situation. You needed all the sweet, heavy kapha foods, fats, proteins, nuts, cured meats, the deep root crops that could overwinterize, because that's what kept you alive. These foods create acidity in the body, but that acidity and that heat in a hibernation or in the snow kept your people thousands of years ago alive. If you eat like that all year, you're going to get over acidic. Your pH is going to be bad, and acidity creates a whole host of inflammatory pitta type of problems. So in the spring, look what nature does. Nature will, the snows will melt. What comes up? All those little green leafy shoots. And this is what you even see your animals in the spring, munching on grass and vomiting. You collect all the leafy greens, and these all bitter detoxify the body. They get the body from an acidic state to more of an alkaline state. And this is what your body needs to purge that overwinterization, that heat, and those heavier sweet-based foods. Come summer, think carbohydrates. Nature provided all the fruits and vegetables. This is when thousands of years ago, you might have had to thatch your roof and change your fence line and move your herd of animals, and you needed energy. And that's what nature provided, all the fruits and veggies in the summer and into the early fall. So think the way nature dictates. If you're an Inuit up in the northern hemisphere in the snow year round, you're not going to make it on broccoli sprouts, right? Like we said, you need walrus blubber and whale blubber and fat, and that's going to keep you going. And if you're in the tropics, think about what nature provides, all the cooling, juicy fruits. We now know coconut has one of the highest chemicals to keep fungal infections at bay. And the tropics is all fungus. It's a perfect growth environment. It's like a petri dish. So what does nature provide? Coconut. It adapted. So when in Rome, do what they do in Rome and get in nature, do what nature does. So again, you don't need to go low carb, no carb, high fat, low fat. Think seasonally for your body type. Sweet taste builds, sour taste. This is an interesting taste. It stimulates your appetite, digestion, relieves thirst. These are all the organic acids, fermented and pickled foods, citrus fruits, hard cheeses, unripe fruits, and alcohol is considered hot and sour. The salty taste, any of the mineral salt, soy sauce, salty fish, seaweeds, these help lubricate tissues. They maintain a mineral balance in the body, and the water molecule is totally attracted to the salt molecule. You need salt to survive. It helps maintain our electrolyte balance, but if you have an excess of salt, you're going to start retaining water and get puffy and have all kinds of water collecting around the heart and other visceral organs, and you're going to run into health trouble. So everyone needs a different ratio. We tend in the West to eat a lot of salty, a lot of sweet, and a lot of spicy foods, and not enough of the sour, pungent, sour, astringent, and bitter foods. Bitter is one of the best friends of Ayurvedic medicine because it is all the bitter, and Western and Chinese medicine as well. It's all the alkaloids and glycosides. So anything, all those bitter, horrible tasting herbs, great for detoxifying the system. Green leafy veggies, kale, celery, broccoli, sprouts, bitter, even coffee. You've heard about people doing coffee enemas. The bitter taste detoxifies, it cleanses, it actually reduces fat and water in the system. It can reduce a fever because it has cold qualities, and it also has antibiotic properties. That's why a lot of bitter herbs are used as natural antibiotics. So here's your first quiz. Which taste is going to aggravate a Vata person with Vata problems the quickest?
Bitter.
Yes, 100%. That's exactly right. So if you're a Vata and you've got a Vata imbalance and you're bouncing around in your yoga class and taking your jump roping class and going jogging and doing all the things a Vata should not do because they need to ground and focus and stay closer to the earth, that same imbalance Vata says, well, I'm going to do like deep leaf green smoothies in the morning. It's not a good call. So bitter taste is going to be better for which person? More the Pitta or more the Kapha? Bitter's really good for Pitta actually and Kapha, and for different reasons. So you've now got 6 kind of treatment remedies or medicines, and you've actually got thousands now, because if you start getting these food charts that put all the grains and different nuts and different vegetables and fruits and meats into either sweet, sour, salty, bitter, pungent, astringent categories, you can start now playing like a musical instrument, like a band. You can start saying, okay, well, here's the imbalance and here's what's going to try to balance it, instead of the doctor just saying, oh, well, it's really important to eat your vegetables. Yeah, we know that. It is really important to eat vegetables, but what kind of vegetable? For a Vata, for a Pitta, or a Kapha? I don't want to give my Vata imbalance detoxing bitter leafy greens. I want to give them what kind of vegetable might be better for a Vata. Think earth, think water. Root crops, heavy, sweet, kaphagenic potatoes, yams, beets, closer to the ground. You want to spice them up, make them warm temperature, make them warm with spices, and that's going to really help a Vata. Is this starting to make sense? Cool. Pungent is essentially spice. It's air and fire. So it's literally like just putting fire into your body. So peppers, chilies, onions, all those radishes, wasabi. Who could really benefit from the pungent taste more than the other two? Which dosha type?
Maybe the Vata?
It's a better answer than that. A Vata can benefit from the pungent because remember, the qualities of Vata are cold, so spicy will warm up, but the qualities of Vata are also dry. So pungent can heat and dry the body. So you can definitely give a Vata pungent, they need it, but you have to figure out how to add moisture in there too. So air and fire are going to really help balance the kapha, because the kapha is also cold, but the kapha is also wet and heavy. And so that heating, drying effect of spicy food is good for kapha. And then lastly, we've got the astringent taste. And a lot of people are not familiar with astringency, but it's like if you've ever just bitten into a really green banana. It's like, it's not sour, it's not bitter, it's that, it's like dry. It is so dry and it constricts micro channels. And so astringency is a fabulous hemostatic, which means it stops fluids from flowing. So if you've got heavy menstrual cycles or an open bleeding wound, you want to hit it with astringent. So these are all the tannins. It could be lentils, dried beans, broccoli, cauliflower, pomegranates, lots of different ways to get the astringent taste into your diet. It also actually helps maintain healthy blood sugar. So turmeric is a fabulous astringent herb. And in Ayurvedic medicine, you can pack an open wound with turmeric because it has a lot of antimicrobial qualities, but because it is so astringent, it functions as a hemostatic and will stop bleeding very, very quickly. Even if you just get a cut in your kitchen with a little knife, just dip it in turmeric, rinse it, dip it in turmeric, and you'll be good to go. All right, so that's the importance of the 6 tastes. And again, guys, this is like being at the Bellagio lunch buffet. I am giving you so much information. This takes years to kind of really get, but you're getting the foundations and you can start thinking Ayurvedically and applying this. So here's back to your earlier question there, Caitlin, and the formation of our tissues from an Ayurvedic perspective, and why having an understanding of your Vata Pitta Kapha doshic balance or imbalanced state is important. Understanding the 5 great elements and knowing that everything comes out of either ether, air, fire, water, or earth elements, and then knowing what type of Agni or metabolic digestive type you are so that you can make the appropriate food choices with foods that fall into sweet, sour, salty, bitter, pungent, or astringent tastes, and you change the ratio on your plate, because all of that, when it's done well and you're accurate, you will be forming your dhatus or your tissues. And what Ayurvedic medicine says from the ancient text is that each one of these 7 tissues is formed within 5.2 days. So plasma 5.2, blood 5.2, muscle. So if you do your math and you get down to reproductive fluid, if you eat an apple on day 1, roughly 35 days later, the essence of that apple, the subtle energy of that apple is in your reproductive fluid. So as an Ayurvedic physician, if I know I'm working on a woman's menstrual cycle, I can't do a follow-up for at least 35 days, because whatever herbs and dietary changes I make with her are not going to actually change or be seen physiologically for 35 days. If I'm trying to get into bone tissue with my herbs or my food or my lifestyle diet changes, we're talking 5, 10, 15, 20. It's about 25 days before that bone medicine or the herbs that we know work with bone tissue, I won't see anything for 25 days. So the formation of your 7 tissues the proper formation comes from all of the aforementioned, what we've just been through the last hour and a half or so. And the opposite is true. If there's something wrong with your diet and your metabolism, your Agni, you're going to start seeing problems in this various tissue levels. And I'm not going to get into the complexity of how these tissues actually find the nutrients that they need, but it's exactly the same as modern Western medicine. And it's unbelievable to me that 6,000 or 7,000 years ago, they knew this. For example, selective uptake. That means the cell goes, oh, I need some vitamin C. I need that. I need that. It just picks what it wants. Well, in 6,000 years ago, the Ayurvedic textbooks basically say this was the pigeon method. It's like a pigeon going like this. And each one of the way the body takes or grabs or absorbs these nutrients from your food is written in the ancient texts. But just every 5.2 days, you are getting deeper and deeper into tissue. So know how that works. And it becomes important because the essence at the end of this, if we had a number 8, they don't in the medical text have a number 8, but the essence of all of this done well is a word called ojas, which is essentially or loosely translated as immunity. So your immune strength, your vitality, your ability to counter pathogens that come into your field of existence. Because here's the bottom line, guys. Every single day, every second of every day, you are exposed to bacteria, fungus, and virus every day. And your body just decides, well, I'm taking on the fungal infection today. I'm taking on the bacterial infection tomorrow. I'm taking the viral load on. Your body decides based on everything we talked about earlier, whatever the doshic imbalance is. If you're more kapha, if you're a wet, hot body type, a kapha pitta body type, that warm, wet body type, guess what kind of problems you're going to have? More fungal infections. Fungus loves warm, wet environments, right? So you want to be kind of mindful of how these tissues are formed, how strong is your immune system, because we're exposed to pathogens every day, and depending on your stress level, and not just mental stress, but biological stress in your body, digestive stress, metabolic stress, your body's going to go, man, I'm beat. I'm taking on this virus I just got exposed to, or this fungus, or this bacteria, right? So you want to have strong immune system by eating all the right foods at the right times for your unique body type. All right, and I've just got to, going to start to close down a little bit in the interest of time. But what Ayurveda says, we talked about the primary cause of disease is this slow, low metabolic fire, an increase of ama or toxins in the body that starts to circulate through the system and create cellular lack of communication. But the reason this starts happening is because of 3 primary areas. It's called misuse of the intellect. I love this expression. It's a crime against wisdom or an offense against wisdom. It means I could say, boy, I know I'm a kapha body type. I know it's kapha season. It's cold, it's wet outside, but I'm feeling depressed. My boyfriend or girlfriend just broke up with me. I'm going to the freezer. I'm hitting up the Haagen-Dazs ice cream, and I'm going to watch that sad, sappy movie and cry and eat ice cream. Well, every once in a while, it's totally okay to do that. But like keeps increasing like, right? So you misused your intellect. You knew better, but you did it anyway. And sometimes, again, once in a while, not a problem. But if that's chronic, if you're constantly misusing the intellect and doing the stuff you know you're not supposed to, you're gonna start a disease process. Misuse of the senses, sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. So improper contact with the sense or their sense object. That means, boy, my ears are feeling sensitive. I'm going to the concert. I'm going to be in the front row, and I'm going to stand right next to the speakers and just rock out for the night. And then you wonder the next week why you have tinnitus or ringing in your ears, right? Or why you've got heart palpitations. So don't misuse your senses. Be very sensitive to what's coming in through your eyes, through your nose, what you're putting in your mouth, what you're hearing, and what you feel on your skin. Just know that your mind is processing based on your sensory input. You don't want to overuse the senses. You don't want to underuse them. You don't want to misuse them. And then lastly, the external environment. So these are the seasonal variations, toxins in the environment, anything from the outside that's coming in. And that includes the misuse of time. And this is an interesting concept in Ayurvedic medicine, is what's appropriate for either the time of day or the time of your life. And the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha doshas actually are predominant at certain times of that 24-hour circadian rhythm. That's why many of us wake up at Vata time at 3 in the morning, anxious, with our minds moving, because from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. is Vata time. And some of us wake up earlier. We wake up in the Pitta time of night when the liver is functioning. So Pitta time is from 10 to 2. And then we all are familiar with Kapha time. That's 6 to 10, either AM or PM. That's when we're kind of couch potatoes. We just want to rest, relax. The heavier, duller qualities of Kapha are more predominant. So Vata time, either AM or PM, is from 2 to 6. Pitta time is going to be from 10 to 2. And Kapha time is going to be from 6 to 10. So don't swim upstream, you know, use the doshic environmental time to choose the appropriate lifestyle medicine. All right. And I'm not going to get very heavy into the disease process because this, you know, takes more hours, but just I love this image, and just know that, remember, again, like increases like. And so you're going to get an accumulation. Whatever you're increasing will accumulate. And once it accumulates to a certain point, there's going to be like provocation. It's provoking. You're going to start getting into a little bit of trouble. And then once it's accumulated and provoked, it's got nowhere else to go. So it starts to spread. It's like, oh man, now I'm on the move, right? So this could be a simple thing like eating ice cream every night, and you know you're accumulating the cold, wet, heavy, dull qualities of kapha, and you don't stop doing it. You know you should probably have ginger, hot water, and some black pepper and honey and all those spicy, dry, light things to help. But you don't. You keep doing the cold, wet, heavy stuff. Your body's getting provoked. Now it's spreading everywhere. And once it's spread and it's on the move, it's like, deposition. I need to find a place to land. Those joints look yummy. The brain looks good. Some arteries. I'll go hang out there. That looks nice. And from that point, once the ama, the toxins have deposited, then the disease begins. And you've got a manifestation of a total imbalance that is a precursor, or that's the point where in Ayurveda, it's beautiful because we can prevent it at the accumulation, provocation, and even the spread stage. It's like, oh, bingo, we're on. I see the pattern. But most of us don't even acknowledge this because we're not aware of it. It isn't until things have deposited into other areas of the body and started to manifest that we actually go into the doctor and go, oh man, I got a headache, I got a tummy ache, I got acid indigestion, or even worse, it goes, you know, it gets much deeper. So once we're at manifestation stage, that's when Western medicine says, yep, here's the disease. You have a manifestation of a problem. And then differentiation is the final stage, which is often just complications. And that's, you know, I've got a liver issue, but it's now manifesting in other areas of my body. So understanding the different stages of disease. And then those very preliminary accumulation phases and even provocation, Vata's home, its house in your body is actually the colon. So if Vata is imbalanced in your body, you're going to find bloating, gas, constipation, feeling cold, feeling anxious, and having insomnia or sleep issues. That's a pretty good indication that Vata is on the move in your body bioenergetically and is pushing things around and starting to create havoc. If Pitta's on the move and that's provoking your physiology, you're going to see initial signs like a yellowing coating on the tongue. You might see a yellowing of the white in your eyes. Your stools and urine might be more yellow. Your body's going to feel more hot than usual. There'll be a little bit of irritability, anger, and a bitter taste in the mouth and looser stools. These are all signs that Pitta is aggravated and accumulating and provoked. And then Kapha will Pitta resides, its home is the small intestine. That's where all of the chemistry, very, very hot chemistry coming from the gallbladder, pancreas, liver, all comes squirting out there in the duodenum, but that's the primary seat of Pitta. And then Kapha, this mucus that sits in the upper fundus of our stomach, it's essentially neutralizing all that hydrochloric acid. But if the Kapha gets imbalanced, you're going to start feeling sluggish and heavy, that low, slow manda agni or poor digestion, lethargy. There might be a paleness or a clamminess to the skin. The limbs will just feel heavy, heavy in the head, and exercise will just, you won't be feeling energized to exercise. So understanding how the doshas accumulate in their seats. And then what happens during provocation, those accumulatory type symptoms start to get worse. So Vata might experience stiffness now, tingling, excessive fast speech, facial tension, sensitivity to sound. So these symptoms are getting deeper, but you're still not going to the doctors. These are still like, oh, I got a sour taste in my mouth. You don't understand that this is now Pitta is provoked. So Pitta, you might feel more thirsty or really more critical, not just irritated, but really critical or angry, burning urination, UTIs, very yellow skin, and real desire for cold, crunching ice, things like that. And with Kapha, your appetite will be gone. There'll be a lot more secretions in the body. Your mouth will be really sticky. You'll sleep more, depression, that white ama coating will be apparent on the tongue. So now the symptoms are just getting a little deeper. And then they will start roaming around the body. So now Vata loves the big, airy, spacious parts of the body. So ears, Vata loves the porous area of bones, like your femur bone, loves getting into the intestines and the pelvic cavity. So you might have ringing in the ears. You might have really dry skin. Your joints might start cracking and popping now that Vata has moved into these various areas of your body. And the Pitta is got an affinity. It likes certain places, the eyes, but you're going to have stomach acidity. Instead of dry skin, it's going to be red, inflamed skin, all kinds of red skin problems, nausea, acid indigestion, burning, irritation. So a lot of inflammatory stuff, particularly in the skin, in the stomach area and the eyes. And lastly, Kapha, this one tends to move from the fundus of the stomach very quickly and easily into the lungs, moves up into the sinuses, gets into the lymphatic system quite easily, breast tissue. And so congestion, runny nose, certain types of more of the heavier congestive asthma, swelling, water swelling, lymphedema, and lethargy. So, this is thousands of years of observation. We kind of know what these all do. We talked a little bit about the last 3 stages of disease, how it's now, once it's spread, will localize or deposit itself, manifest as a qualitative change and an actual disease. And then the last one actually create complications. And this is where the pharmacy will put you on meds. And that's just a review of the 6 tastes. And then lastly, if we know how to remediate some of the doshic imbalance by recognizing the dosha, how it's functioning in our body, and then which tastes we might need to remediate things, it's also really important to know how to breathe. Because if Vata, we talked about, is the naughty kid in the classroom, the one that can, because it's mobile, it can get up and provoke Pitta and Kapha. Pitta and Kapha won't do anything on their own, but Vata will provoke Pitta and Kapha. If Vata is air and ether, that can again loosely be translated as the breath. And that is the bottom line from more of a spiritual yogic Ayurvedic perspective. And that is, you all you have is your breath. You come in, it's your first teacher, you go out, it's your last teacher, and ultimately it's your teacher throughout your whole life. And remembering the breath, honoring the breath, and learning to utilize the breath medicinally becomes a really, really important tool. And this is more of a yogic practice than an Ayurvedic practice, but Ayurvedic physicians and practitioners utilize yogic practices in their treatment plans. And the difference is, if yoga fundamentally is for helping you achieve self-realization, and you need to just sit on that meditation cushion and get all the way out to Zog or with God or wherever you go, and you've got a tummy ache or a headache, that's where Ayurveda comes in and goes, well, man, if you can't sit on the cushion because you got a backache or a tummy ache, here, let Ayurveda come in, fix things up so you can get back on your cushion. They're sister sciences. So what Ayurveda does is it really utilizes the breath in order to help treat and remediate problems. So pranayama is just a Sanskrit, it's just a fancy word for breathing practices, but essentially it's kind of mastery of your life force, or mastery or practice is kind of yama, and then prana, like prana, chi, it's like your life force. So breathing correctly, super important. Oxygenation of the blood to get into all the cells helps you maintain and attain different physical and mental states, and particularly good for high blood pressure, diabetes, and depression. But I love giving different breath practices for anxiety versus depression. And really important when you're dealing with depression, number one, if the depression is chronic and long-term, and you have suicidal ideation or wanting to end things, get under the care of a proper physician, get on the right medication, even if it's just for a short period of time, because depression can wax and wane depending. It's kapha related. It gets dangerous if pitta gets involved, because pitta has got the anger and the heat in it, and then the harm we begin to self-inflict within ourselves. So Ayurveda addresses psychology and the mind. But at this level, I just want you to know that understanding the breath, if you're depressed and it's more kapha depression, you want to bring more heat and more speed and more stimulation into your breath. So any of the breaths you do in your yoga class where you're pumping your belly, you're breathing quickly, you're doing what we call Kapalabhati, where you're moving energy around your head. There's different ways of breathing externally, kind of out of your nose, internally, through the gut, through the chest. So these breathing practices get more and more refined. And right now, I would say go onto YouTube, because we're all in isolation and we don't have the luxury of going to a good pranayama or yoga class where it's taught. Get online and just plug in pranayama. Find a teacher that you like on YouTube and just start practicing. And the initial stages of learning pranayama will be just learning a basic 3-part breath. First of all, to start with that as your foundation, and that's learning to breathe yogically. A 3-part breath is, if you notice your breath, just put your hands right now on your tummy and put your hands on your chest. And a basic 3-part breath, you're going to inhale through your nose and you're going to feel your belly expand like you're pregnant. And then it's like a roll. You're going to feel it move up into your chest, kind of like that. So if my hand right here is my tummy, you can't really see, but back up a little bit. See if I can get around the screen. So I got my hand on my tummy, hand on my chest, and I'm inhaling through the nose. My belly's expanding. And then like a roll, it's moving up into my chest. So I want you to make sure you feel those distinct 3 parts in your inhale. Hold. And then exhale out of your nose as well. So getting into a rhythm with a 3-part breath is your first few days. If you're doing it for 5 or 10 minutes every day for a few days, that's your beginning foundation practice. Then what becomes really important is being aware of your inhalation versus your exhalation. Is your inhalation longer? Is your exhalation longer? I like to view the inhalation as kind of self-care and my exhalation as when I'm caring for others. It's kind of an esoteric view, but you're going to notice, are you a giver or are you a receiver? Is your exhalation longer? Is your inhalation longer? And how do you balance those? How do you balance that if you're depressed? How do you balance that if you're anxious? If you're anxious, you want to extend the exhalation. You want to really learn to have a little bit longer exhalation than an inhalation. If you're depressed, you want a lot of fire in your breath. You want to pump your belly, breathe in and around your head to create stimulation. And I can't take you into a pranayama class right now, but just I want to bring awareness to how you're breathing. We also do a practice that's alternate nostril breathing, where we breathe in, plug it off, exhale out the other. This helps balance the cold and warm sides of the body, or the lunar and solar, or the masculine and feminine sides of our body. So pranayama, another tool in your tool belt to keep your mind particularly and your digestion optimized. All right. So mind, body, spirit, whole wellness. This is your Bellagio buffet of Ayurvedic medicine in 2 hours. And we call this the tripod. You have to have your body in check, your mind, which is related to all your senses, and your spirit and your relationship with community, all connected. So just to repeat that very last sutra, or little definition of health. One who is perfect in health are when Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, the bioenergetics that inform our physiology, are balanced. Also, our digestive fire needs to be balanced. These are our enzymes, assimilation, metabolism. Also, the body tissues. So those 7 from plasma, blood, fat, muscle, bone, bone marrow, and reproductive fluid. All our tissues need to be balanced. And all our excretory functions, so sweat, urine, and feces, all need to be clear and moving out of the body, as well as our ability to perceive through our senses, process that sensory input through our mind, and our connection with spirit all needs to be in balance. So let's do a little namaste, and we're going to take, we started a little bit late, so I'm going to keep you in here for another 5 minutes, if that's okay with everybody. And we'll just do a Q&A and hand it over to Caitlin to close. So thank you all so very much for being here and exposing yourself to Ayurveda and what it has to offer. I hope you take your journey a little deeper, but let's just do Q&A. You can unmute.
It's hard to know where to start. That was a lot of information in a short amount of time.
Right.
And it is all very interesting. Like, I don't have specific questions except for, just wanting to kind of know more. Like, if I feel like a lot of the a lot of the undigest, like that's a lot of what's going on with me right now. And you talked about how if it's, a short-term thing, then it's easier to fix, versus I feel like maybe it's been for a really long time, and maybe I'm moving into the manifestation part of it. So kind of what are the next steps that you would recommend? I know at the beginning there was a question on whether we wanted to do like a consultation or if we'd be willing to do that, or is that the next step?
It can be. So you've got lots of different choices here. You've got a good foundation now. You can just pick the cheapest way to do is just go get a good book and start reading Ayurvedically about how now to balance the doshas. But in real life, I think in my experience, it's good to have a baseline. So knowing your vata, pitta, kapha, doshic makeup becomes important, because otherwise you're just self-medicating. You're just kind of going, oh, is it kapha, is it pitta, is it vata? She said deal with vata first. You're just kind of throwing different medicines into your body, not really knowing. So I always recommend get a consultation, so you know. And if you think you've got some disease potential on the horizon, just get a consultation. If you don't have time to take more classes, sometimes I say to people, like Nicole's considering going into an Ayurvedic course. Just if there's no impending doom or potential disease, just go take the course and you'll figure it out in the class and you'll be able to treat yourself. But if you're wanting to get it taken care of, get it taken care of. You've got different options at Mount Madonna, but there are good Ayurvedic practitioners all over the country. But at Mount Madonna, we have options depending on your finances. So we have what are called our student internships. So you can call and you work with students that are in our student clinic. They're in courses and practicing, and they all have a supervisor. And it's a good way, good bang for your buck. You might have 2 or 3 people working on you, so it's not private. It's private in that all medicine, it's confidential, but you might have 3 or 4 people looking at your situation. And then all the way up to practitioners at $145 an hour, they're going to get in there and just start working with you Ayurvedically right away, and just go from there. So taking classes, getting a student consult, or getting a regular consult. Our classes begin in January. We've got a pretty full year ahead with level 1 of Ayurvedic medicine. But if you're unsure, you can just take the first 2 classes. It's 2 long weekends per month, and you'll get a really nice understanding. I'll let Caitlin walk you through some of that, but different levels to commit to more studying as well. Other questions? We didn't get to meet you at the bottom. Barry, hi. Sound?
Oh yeah, Barry, it's funny. You're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
That's okay. You can, if you want to type in the chat room, do you see the chat room there at the bottom? You can type whatever you want in there. We didn't get to. That's all right. So the next step is I'll be sending you guys the questionnaire. It is going to be looking at your physical body and your mental body, how you regulate your emotions, how you get emotionally triggered. And then it's just a numerical sequence. So you can count up all the vatas, all the pitta, all the kapha types. And then from there you can go, oh man, look, I'm 25 kaphas and only 6 pittas and 2 vatas. That means I'm kapha predominant, right? So that's a good initial place to start. And again, base it on your current disposition, not what you think your true nature is or what you were, your genetic nature. And that'll go out on Monday. Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
How often do you have to change? Does your dosha change often or like seasonal? How does that work?
Every minute.
Every minute your dosha is changing.
Every minute, literally. So your genetic nature won't ever change, but your dosha, vata, pitta, or kapha are in constant change.
Okay.
So if I just scared you right now, your vata would go through the roof in an instant. But you may be more kapha pitta, but you keep eating popcorn, and the effects of that excess popcorn you keep eating over weeks, that vata may take a slower, longer time to increase.
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense? And
Yeah.
so different phases of your life, from childhood to midlife to older age, different temperatures in the environment, different films you're watching, different food you're eating, all of that affects your doshas minute by minute.
Okay. Thank you.
And Barry dropped a question in the chat, and I also want to be conscientious of everyone's time. So maybe Kate, if you have any book choices to recommend to get started on someone's Ayurvedic journey, and maybe we can also include this in our follow-up as well. But if you have anything right off the bat.
Yes, I would say anything by Dr. Vasant Lad. So The Science of Self-Healing is a great beginner's book. That'll give you all the theories we just covered and more on a good simplistic level. So The Science of Self-Healing. The other one that I recommend for those of you particularly that don't want to get bogged down with too much theory, but want to understand the basics and you love cooking, Eat, Taste, Heal. They have one of the best intros, the first chapter on Ayurveda fundamentals that I've read anywhere. And then the rest of it are just beautiful coffee table recipes on what to cook for each dosha. And it's particularly nice if you're in a family, because you don't want to be cooking 4 different meals for 4 different family members. You want to know how to adapt that one meal for each family member. I'm going to add more spice for my kapha. I'm going to take out the dry blah, blah, blah for my vata. So it's a great functional book, Eat, Taste, Heal. Those are my 2 number ones.
Great. All right.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think we're going to wrap it up just to be mindful of time. And I'm going to drop a couple of links in the chat right now. You've probably already all been to our website, but just I'm dropping specific links to, you know, our school, our College of Ayurveda, our calendar, our clinic, and things like that. But just wanted to say, first of all, thank you so much, Kate. Thank you for sharing this really important, fundamental, foundational information on Ayurveda. And thanks everyone for joining us today. I hope everybody learned something. We definitely got a lot of information to just sort of sit with and digest. And I'm glad that you all joined us this afternoon. I just want to close out with a couple more things just to bring to your awareness. And I'll also follow up with an email, a follow-up email on Monday as well. But as I mentioned before, this is the 3rd webinar in a series, and our next one is Saturday, December 5th. And Dr. Suhas, who is the chair for the College of Ayurveda, is going to be presenting on beating the winter blues through Ayurveda. So he's going to be talking about sort of seasonal depression and how we can sort of combat that with Ayurveda. And as Kate already started mentioning, you know, I wanted to just address a little bit more that if you want to learn more about Ayurveda, you want to learn more about our educational programs, check out our offerings online. We have an open house coming up, another virtual open house coming up on December 16th, which is a great opportunity to connect with some of our faculty members and just get to review the programs in greater detail. And as Kate also mentioned, our Ayurveda Health Counselor Program, which is the foundational level program, it is the gateway to the practitioner level, the masters, and our Ayurvedic Yoga Therapy Program starts January 21st. So this is a perfect time if you're sort of thinking, I might be, you know, wanting to take that step. This is a great time to start doing deeper research to see if that is going to be a good fit. And a great option that is open now, applications are open for our foundations program, which, as Kate started to explain, this is actually just the first 3 months of the AHC program. And this year we have both a for-credit and a not-for-credit option available. So folks who might be feeling like, I think I want to do this program, but I kind of want to do a taste test first to see if this is the right fit for me before I fully jump in, you could take that for-credit option. And then if you feel like I'm feeling good, I want to keep learning, you could just transfer into the rest of the program. And then the not for credit option is just a little bit scaled back. It's not as many hours. It's, you're not doing the homework. You're not taking Sanskrit classes. You're sort of participating like a couple steps back just for if you just want some more, individual, personal self-exploration and self-knowledge. So go ahead and check those out as well. I'm really excited about those offerings. I think it's a good, I think there's something for everyone in that these new offerings. So hopefully you'll feel the same way. And then last two things. Also, if you haven't already, definitely check out Ayurveda World. That's our online herb store. There's a link in the chat. You can find, there's actually a big sale happening right now. So this is a great time to check it out. We have all kinds of herbal products, tinctures, oils, herbal compounds, etc. And you can also order specific herbal formulations upon request. And yeah, if you're inspired to support Mount Madonna, we are a nonprofit institute dedicated to providing experiential and transformational learning. And any gift that you give towards our organization will support the sustainability and scholarships for students here. So lots to explore, lots to digest. We're so glad you joined us this afternoon in our small little cozy group. So hopefully everyone got something out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question about your programs. Are they remote or they're in person or
yeah, totally. Great question. This year they are remote. So as for the AHC program, our 2021 AHC program will be fully remote and online. And we can't say at this time whether, the 2022 program will be that as well, but we can say for certainty 2021 is going to be virtual. So even if you just did the foundations, no matter at what level you were interested in participating, everything's online.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
Question.
Sure.
For the program, will you be learning about like the herbs and what they do?
Yeah.
Kate, yeah.
In AHC AY 107 is herbology, and you're going to have a repertoire in your first year of studies of just 20 herbs. They don't have a lot of contraindications, so you can't do a lot of harm with them, even if you kind of blow it and misdiagnose or over medicate with them. They don't do any damage really. So, but you're going to learn how to use them well, is my point. When you get into practitioner level training, your scope of practice opens wide up. Practitioner level training is really, it's 3 years to become an Ayurvedic practitioner. AHC is year 1, and it's great. But you'll be limited in your scope. We don't get into a lot of disease pathology or some of the more complex herbs.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, you'll be doing a lot of herbology work.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll be following up. Feel free to get in touch if you email ayurveda@mountmadonnainstitute.org, it will, come to me and I'll be able to direct you. I'll be able to answer your question myself or connect you with somebody who can. So we hope to see both of you soon.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, guys. Can we just out together, close space?
Sure.
That was a lot of information, guys, in a short period of time. So just like Caitlin said, it'll digest over days, the next few days, and you now have all the resources to reach out. One last Om at the top of the inhale whenever you're ready.